Fox News alert. Americans can rest easy tonight knowing that two dangerous criminals are off the streets and are heading to prison. No, they didn't kill anybody. They didn't rape. They didn't traffic drugs or underage kids. And no, they didn't get loaded and wreck their Porsche. They found Ashley Biden's diary and they tried to sell it. According to the Department of Justice, Amy Harris and Robert Kurlander pled guilty today to, quote, conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property. That has to be the least used federal statute on the books. But the diary was never stolen. Ashley Biden abandoned it. She left it under a mattress in a Florida halfway house where she was recovering from her sex and drug addiction. I have a legitimate question. Why don't the Biden kids ever clean up after themselves? Did they grow up with maids? Hunter is leaving his laptop at repair shops and his crack pipes and rental cars. Ashley's just ditching her diary around a bunch of drug addicts. This is the sloppiest family I've ever seen. It's almost like they want to get caught. Talk about daddy issues. We don't have time for that tonight, though. But the DOJ doesn't care. They're making it seem like these two people broke into the Biden family beach house and stole it out of the big guy's safe. They accused Harris and Kurlander of crossing state lines with stolen property and using an encrypted messaging app to communicate with journalists. Oh, so like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger? Billions of people use that across the world. These people aren't Russian hackers. But that's what Merrick Garland wants you to think. And listen, these people aren't totally clean. They're getting high and they find a diary and they try to shop it for money to buy drugs, all before an election. They shopped it to a bunch of outlets. No one wanted it, and eventually ended up at Project Veritas. James O'Keefe wanted it, and he was suspicious, though, and needed confirmation that this was the real deal. So the duo went back down to Florida to find more evidence to corroborate it. O'Keefe paid $40,000 for it, but never even ran the story. Next thing you know, the FBI raids his house. And listen, the diary would have been a big October surprise had anybody run with it. It's full of dirt on the first family. In it, Ashley wrote about being hypersexualized in her youth, saying, quote, I remember having sex with friends at a young age and showers with my dad. Probably not appropriate, quote unquote. You think Joe wants that out in public? Around election season? No. But the FBI is acting like this was a matter of national security. Here's the New York Times. Since the investigation began nearly 2 years ago, federal investigators have moved aggressively, carrying out court-authorized searches at the homes of two former Project Veritas operatives and the group's founder, James O'Keefe. You know what hot lead they weren't aggressively pursuing? Hunter Biden's laptop, which actually was and still is a major matter of national security. Instead, the FBI did everything they could to bury it. Whistleblower has just blown the lid off the entire Hunter story, saying the FBI leadership was actively doing everything they could to cover it up, telling agents not to investigate the laptop until after the 2020 election. Didn't the American people deserve to see what was on the computer before casting their vote? I guess not. Because the cover-up didn't stop there. It was a full-court press. After FBI leadership kept everything hush-hush at the Bureau, they turned to the social media giants. We know that Twitter wasted no time in silencing the story, but that wasn't the Fed's only target. Watch this.
There was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false. the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise.
The FBI told Facebook the Hunter Biden story was actual Russian disinformation. This is what you're up against. A full assault from all angles. The FBI is weaponized now. They work for Joe Biden. How can we trust anything they do? Fox News Alert.